One video game series I've been getting into a lot is Metroid. I've been playing it a lot lately, and I've seen tons of videos of people ranking every Mario game or Sonic game, but not Metroid, even though it was one of the first Nintendo game series that made Nintendo a popular video game franchise that we know and love today. So today, I'll be ranking every single Metroid game since I've played all of them, and yeah, let's get into it. Metroid Other M is quite a perplexing Metroid game, with its mix of 2D and 3D controls. It's really weird, and it's by far the most forgettable Metroid game. And I do not like this game at all. I mean, there's people who like it, and I mean, I guess I could see why, but I'm not one of those people. I am not joking when I say the first 10 minutes of this game is completely all cutscenes. There's just way too many cutscenes in this game, which gives it a lot of story, don't get me wrong, but I'd rather want to play a Metroid game than just watch a movie. Like, make a Metroid movie, Nintendo, if that's what you think your game should be like. This game is also very short. It's 5 hours long for a Wii game, which is not great at all. And I just don't like the controls. They feel too rushed and not fluid enough. This game is not a great Metroid game. And if you're really curious and a really big fan of the Metroid series, I guess you could play it, but I wouldn't really recommend it. 11. Metroid Prime Pinball. There's not really much to say here. It's just pinball, but Metroid Prime themed. Of all the Metroid Prime games, this one is probably the worst. That's not to say it's a terrible game, I guess, but it's not really that great. For one, this Metroid game doesn't feature Samus, at all, which is just stupid. That'd be like a Mario game without Mario. Oh, yeah. Another problem I have with this game is, just like Metroid Other M, it is just way too short. The campaign on hard mode will run you about 3 hours. I mean, if you're a completionist, it will be more, but if you're not really like me, then it's 3 hours. But yeah, I really don't know what Nintendo was thinking with this. The whole point of Metroid games is to be backtracking and long and games that'll give you plenty of playthrough. But this game is just not it at all. The most exciting part of this game was probably Blast Ball. And even then, that's a free separate mode on the Nintendo eShop. 9. Metroid. It's a marvel that this came out on the NES in 1986, and it's super impressive how the NES how this game could utilize only 4 buttons that the NES had that you could use to swap your weapons and stuff like that. And it is such a great game. But there are some major flaws. One, this game could be a bit slow at times, which, makes sense. It's an older game. And the boss fights are stupid hard. This game could just be so frustrating for no reason at times. And it's really annoying. And also, why is there no save feature? Nintendo, this is a really long game where you gotta do some backtracking every once in a while. Come on, at least add a password system. It's so, dumb that they didn't even add anything to save your game or head to a new level. Now, of course, I will give it credit. It was the first game in the series, but it's by far not the best. Okay, just a heads up, you're about to see a lot of Metroid Prime now. 8. Metroid Prime 2. Metroid Prime 2 is alright. I'm not really the biggest fan of it, but it's okay. I'll start off with the, not great things about it. This game feels exactly like every other Metroid game. It doesn't really do a lot to differentiate between the series. It's like New Super Mario Bros. The first one was great and unique, and then the second one is a copy off of that, and then it just kept going. That's not the case with all the Metroid Prime games, but this one I feel like is just really similar to Metroid Prime 1. But that's not to say it's bad. In fact, this game is really good. Like, it's a bit spooky. Like, I mean, it's kind of, I wouldn't say it's on par with, say, Resident Evil, but like, a lot of the enemies look really grotesque and just overall scary. 7. Metroid Prime Hunters. This game is crazy. This is a Metroid Prime game running on the DS, and that is just, I can't believe Nintendo managed to do that. But then again, they've exceeded my expectations many times. This game would be a lot higher up on my list if it weren't for 3 main gripes, though. And you may be thinking, Landon, what? 3 main gripes? That's not a lot. Well, yeah, but my main gripes are really big. 1. Since this is running on the DS, the graphics are a bit pixelated, and it gets really annoying and hard to see things sometimes. 2. The backtracking is absurd. Sorry guys, my video cut out. But anyways, as I was saying, the backtracking is just absurd. Every time you need to save, you have to go back to Samus's gunship, even if you've made a ton of progress in the level. There may be another way to save, but, like, I couldn't find any way to save, and it is just stupid. And 3, I don't like the way doors are opened in this game. They either randomly open or randomly don't. 6. Metroid Prime 3. Okay, this game annoys me because it literally brings back Dark Samus, who is the antagonist for Metroid Prime 2, and I am so tired of seeing Nintendo characters in just Dark or Shadow forms. You got Dark Samus, Dark Pit, Dark Link, Shadow Kirby, Shadow Mario, Shadow Luigi, Shadow Peach, Shadow Bowser, Shadow Mewtwo, Shadow Lugia, and even Shadow Pokemon in Pokemon Go. The list gets way too excessive. But you know what? Whatever. It's fine, because I actually have a lot of good things to say about this game. 1, it is graphically impressive for the Wii. Like, the Wii pretty much has the same graphics as the GameCube, but this game looks so good, like on par with Mario Galaxy good. The lighting, explosions, and all the cinematic scenes are all, like, really fun to watch. 2, I have the controls. Like, the controls feel really smooth. I don't really know how to explain it, but they just feel right, you know? And 3 is the intricate puzzles. Like, I get Metroid is supposed to be confusing, and this game works really well. It's like the classic Metroid. You gotta backtrack every once in a while, but it's not, repetitive like Metroid Prime Hunters, where you had to backtrack every time you wanted to save. That got annoying. This didn't. This is, these types of games make me so hyped for Metroid Prime 4. That is, if Nintendo's even releasing a Metroid Prime 4. 5. Super Metroid. While it's only the 3rd game in the series, this game was a huge step up from 1 and 2. Like, this game looks and sounds incredible. I get it's running on better hardware since the first 2 were on NES and Game Boy. But, the Super Nintendo graphics really outdo themselves in this game. This game follows a pretty similar plot to Metroid 1. You gotta get the Metroid that was stolen from Ridley and the Space Pirates, yada, yada, yada. But since the Super Nintendo has more buttons and stuff, it allows for more weapons, and the boss fights here are pretty intense and look really stunning, even for the Super Nintendo. Especially the crane boss fight. I like that one. This was the first Metroid game that I actually ever beat, and I beat it on the Nintendo Switch Online app, and I had so much fun playing it. If you're a Metroid fan or want to get into the series, you have to play this game. It's pretty much a must-have. 4. Metroid Dread. This makes me so happy that we saw a recent 2D Metroid game. The last 2D Metroid game that we saw was Metroid Fusion in 2003. And ever since then, it's mainly just been Metroid Prime games. Those games are good, but I also would like to see more 2D Metroid games, like Metroid Dread. This game feels and controls a lot like Super Metroid, actually, but it feels more modern, and it has the melee attack from Metroid Samus Returns and stuff. And believe it or not, this game was originally supposed to be on the DS, but it got scrapped because their plans were too big for the DS to handle. I also like how in this I also like how the plot of this game follows right after Metroid Fusion, with Samus receiving a signal and whatever about the X virus returning. It's pretty crazy. I mean, it defeats the whole purpose of the game name. Samus is hunting Metroids and stuff. I mean, but X virus doesn't have a nice ring to it. But yeah, even though I haven't played the full game, I've only ever played the demo of this game. I do plan on getting this game since I've been getting into Metroid recently, and I honestly can't wait to play it. Although I feel like that it's held back by the Switch's hardware limitations. I get it. Nintendo isn't going to port their exclusive game series like Metroid to other consoles. That would just be dumb, because if people want to play this exclusive game, they need to buy a Switch, and Nintendo makes more money. But I feel like if Nintendo did port this to other consoles, like maybe the PS5, it would look stunning, and it would make people want to buy it more. Now, of course, I have a Switch, so I'm not really complaining about that, but I feel like if Nintendo just went like Sega, even kept their consoles alive, but still ported some games to other consoles, that would be fantastic. 3. Metroid Fusion. Just like Super Metroid and Metroid Prime 3, and I guess a bunch of other games in the Metroid series, this game is a technical marvel for what system it was on. This looks like it would be on a Super Nintendo or a home console, but this actually came out on the Game Boy Advance. That is crazy. In this game, I like how Samus wiped out all the Metroids after Super Metroid. So there's a new plot to figure out, and that's eliminating the X virus, which is a virus that can mimic, I guess, dead things or something like that. That's different. I mean, not creative like the Metroids, but whatever. Hey, new plot. Cool. I mean, I don't know why they called this game Metroid. Again, just like in Metroid Dread, even though there's no Metroids to be featured in this game, aside from the ones in the hour-long cutscene in the middle. It's fine. Whatever. Once the cutscene's over, they're all pretty much done anyway. But yeah, after this game came out, it wasn't likely we would see another 2D Metroid ever again. I mean, there'd be a few Metroid Prime games here and there, but I thought that would be it for 2D Metroid. And then Nintendo announced Metroid Prime 4 and never released it. And I thought, Metroid is going to get the same treatment that Nintendo did to F-Zero. It was going to be in Smash Bros., and that was it. Now, thankfully, that didn't happen, but boy, did that scare me. 2. Metroid Prime. Of all the Metroid Prime games on this list, I know there were a lot, the original one is by far my favorite, because of how revolutionary and innovative it was for Nintendo. When the jump from 2D to 3D happened in video games, Nintendo did not wait at all to convert games like Donkey Kong and Mario and Zelda to 3D. But they decided to wait with Metroid, probably because they wouldn't know how it would work in 3D. And so they decided on the GameCube to make a first-person shooter, and I think that was genius. Metroid Prime is, I guess, Nintendo's answer to games like Call of Duty and Six Siege and Apex and all those stuff. But, I think Metroid works so well in 3D, and honestly, I wondered why they wouldn't make a game like that sooner, because, it was so obvious. Samus uses her arm cannon. Now, I don't really have a lot of gripes about this game. My only real gripes is that, using the second GameCube's joystick to move the camera could feel a bit stiff at times, and sometimes it's hard to aim. I wish they added maybe an adapter or something to give the GameCube controller gyro controls, because that would have made aiming way easier. Like the Wiimote in Metroid Prime 3 makes aiming really good. Aiming feels weird in this game. And I get it, that's a lot to ask for, but it was just a suggestion. And also, why is there no reticle to shoot? it just feels off. Like, sometimes I'll try and shoot something and then completely miss because I don't know where I'm aiming. But other than that, this game looks beautiful, feels beautiful, and is just overall a fantastic game. Now, I know this next pick might be controversial, but I think this game is probably the easiest in the series. It's great for beginners to, like, figure out the Metroid series, and I think that this game is probably my favorite. So here we go. Here is my number one favorite Metroid game. I know. A lot of people don't think that this game is the best Metroid game, but personally, I do. And here's why. One, the music is just so, I guess, upbeat. Like, I get Metroid is Nintendo's answer to a horror series, kind of. But this game has some nice chipper and upbeat tunes. And that makes me happy because it makes me feel like I'm going on an adventure, which is what this game, I guess, is trying to do. Two, I just think these controls feel really great. And they're on a Game Boy. That is absolutely, like, that boggles my mind how they managed to get a Metroid game on Game Boy. It's such inferior hardware, but whatever, still cool. This game also introduces a save feature, which is pretty epic, since not a lot of Game Boy games had a save feature at the time. This game is just, I love to play it a lot. Plus, it has a remake on the 3DS, my favorite console, called Metroid Samus Returns. And I'm not counting remakes on this list because I feel like talking about them would just be repetitive. Like, if I talked about the Metroid 1 remake, I feel like it would just be like me talking about Metroid 1 all over again. But if I could put it on this list, the 3DS remake would be my favorite. But yeah, Metroid 2, The Return of Samus, is just so good. I also like how you hunt down Metroids. Like, the whole point of this game is you gotta kill all the Metroids and stuff. And I think that's such a creative plot point, even though, like, Metroids are in every game. So yeah, this game is my number one favorite Metroid game. Hey everybody, yeah, if you watched to the end of the video, like right now, thank you very much, I appreciate that. Also, I just want to throw out a quick apology, because this video was supposed to come out like days or maybe even weeks ago, but I unfortunately got sick and couldn't record the rest of the video on time, so sorry about that. But yeah, that was my list for ranking every Metroid game. I really hope you enjoyed. If you did enjoy, leave a like and subscribe. And also, comment down below what your favorite Metroid game is. With that, I'm Super Lando Plays, and I'll see you all in the next video.